You know the difference between Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa? Trump understands the problems in his country. He can name the problems and even solutions that he has in mind.
A Venezuelan national dubbed the migrant influencer is at the center of controversy this morning. He has been using TikTok to coach migrants how to live in the U.S. by taking advantage of laws protecting squatters.
In
his most recent controversial TikTok video, Moreno is telling his followers to avoid living on the streets in the United States. They can, quote, invade empty homes and live there, saying under U.S. law, if a house is uninhabited, it can be seized, referring to squatting rights in our country. That video garnered almost 4 million views.
As we have more migrants moving into cities, more homelessness, we are going to see more of it increase.
In past videos, the illegal migrant bragged that he came to the United States to vacation and now lives off U.S. taxpayers because he had a child in this country. He also tells his followers that he waits for Americans' hard-earned pension checks to come in every month. In another video, he is urging fellow Venezuelans to pay the fines of a 15-year-old migrant who allegedly shot a tourist in Times Square, saying, quote, today it could be him, tomorrow it could be one of you. But this recent video on squatting is making headlines as Moreno tells his Comrades that if they fix up an abandoned home that is deteriorated or in bad condition, they can get credits when the properties are sold.
Once he entered the office, Trump chose to deal with those problems in his country. Immigrants that entered the country legally found themselves getting arrested and deported. Why? Because you have broken the law of the country by entering illegally. Hence, you have just become a criminal and you must be dealt with.
Officials tonight said Daly College is an ideal location because it's move-in ready and a fraction of the cost of a hotel. But many in the crowd didn't want to hear it.
When do citizens of the United States of America come first?
On the southwest side, city officials getting an earful.
How about this? Give them all these politicians' addresses and put them in their backyards, in their basements, in their houses.
This meeting at Richard J. Daly College comes as the city, starting as early as this weekend, prepares to use this gymnasium until August 1st and 2 auxiliary classrooms on the campus through the end of November to shelter more than 400 migrants.
This is about being human.
But the debate igniting anger about how the city for decades has treated its poor. This gathering comes a day after the city council at a heated meeting approved $51 million in emergency migrant funding. That money only expected to last through the end of this month.
You speak very much about the money. It's our money. Every dollar you give is our money.
Last weekend, migrants began moving into Wright College on the northwest side. Officials say that's reduced the number of migrants at police stations from more than 800 last week to fewer than 640 now.
My first day back in the White House, I'll terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion on our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Registered bounty hunters in Mississippi could get $1,000 for each successful deportation they facilitate.
House Bill 1484 was created to give us a neighborhood watch sort of gap for people that deal with criminals on a day-to-day basis. That's what bounty hunters, law enforcement, bail bondsmen do. So it's an information gathering to our higher up law enforcement community to then push that information to ICE so they can then act on that information.
And what you're looking at, I brought this up a little bit earlier, but this is a post from Secretary Kristi Noem as she says arresting some criminal aliens this morning in NYC. Thank you to the brave officers involved.
On the other hand, Cyril Ramaphosa never addresses the issue of illegal immigration to anyone's satisfaction. Instead, he acts as if he doesn't even know that there is a problem with illegals in this country. If it wasn't for Gayton McKenzie, do you think that Chidima Adetshina's story would have been resolved? He's neither the president nor the Home Affairs minister, but he made it clear that we needed to investigate it. Thankfully, we had Leon Schreiber, DEA's Minister of Home Affairs, to help deal with that issue. But in general, we should have a state of disaster when it comes to the issue of illegal immigrants, considering how far it has gone and the various negative effects it has on South Africa and her citizens. Among other things, we have Nigerian gangs trafficking drugs through our borders. Where's Cyril Ramaphosa when it comes to that? Where? Meanwhile, what is happening in the US? Donald Trump is targeting gangs in his country.
We will launch a federal task force to dismantle the gangs, the street crews, and the criminal networks that are ravaging our towns.
They quickly take him into custody. He's an MS-13 gang member wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder. And he has an Interpol red notice out for his arrest.
We are targeting very violent threats to our community.
I'm not going back to Haiti. One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
So, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Señor, ¿cómo se llama?
And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies.
Dealing with them promptly and decisively. There should have been a national emergency when it comes to drugs in this country. But Cyril Ramaphosa is quiet. Trump knows very well that fentanyl is destroying his country, so he took action.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Saturday ordered hefty new tariffs of 25% on goods from Mexico and Canada and 10% on imports from China. Trump set the February 1st deadline to press for strong action to halt the flow of the opiate fentanyl and precursor chemicals into the U.S. from China via Mexico and Canada, as well as to stop illegal immigrants crossing U.S. borders.
We will stop the invasion, end migrant crime, support our police.
Cyril Ramaphosa knows how drugs are destroying families in our country. He knows that smoking and alcohol in high schools is hurting our country. He knows that premarital sex is hurting our country. He knows that alcohol in general is hurting our country, and yet he does nothing about it. Do you see the difference between these two leaders? Here's another area where Trump shows that he is simply a better leader by far. He got rid of DEI. DEI is the American version of BEE, and it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I just want to say a few words about how honored I am to be here with all of you today in this role, in this room, standing behind this podium. I am obviously acutely aware that my presence at this podium represents a few firsts. I am a Black, gay, immigrant woman, the first of all three of those to hold this position.
We're going to keep critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our schools.
Representation does matter. You hear us say this often in this administration, and no one understands this better than President Biden.
To give you some raw numbers, if you just look overall, in the month of April, from last year to this year, there's been about 1,000% increase. In the month of May, there was about an 800% increase in the number of people coming across the border. According to Director McCraw, in Texas alone, in this fiscal year already, we've already set a new all-time record for the number of people who've been apprehended coming across the border, going back through the very beginnings of time since the numbers were recorded. And with each passing day, that record is going to do nothing but increase. So why is this happening? This is happening because of the massive change in policy by the Biden administration, where the Trump administration had in place the Remain in Mexico policy, as well as other policies that were working that did lead to a dramatic decrease in the number of people who are coming across the border. Those policies were abandoned by the Biden administration, and in their place, the Biden administration has imposed open border policies that has led to this incredible influx of people who have come across the border.
which is why his administration is not only the most diverse in history, it is filled with barrier-breaking women and men, from the vice president to the cabinet secretaries, to his Supreme Court nominee, to senior staff throughout this administration.
In America, DEI also includes hiring based on race, gender, and sexual orientation. You know, that nonsense of the ANC, EFF, and some other communists in South Africa, right?
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
They want this many blacks owning this and that. They want this many women in higher positions. They want this many young people holding such and such positions.
The CEO of United Airlines last month, the CEO, he announced of all the hiring for all the new pilots that are coming up this year, all the hiring for the new pilots, the main focus is going to be diversity. What? Diversity? Not the best pilots you can find? The ones with the most hours of experience?
Nope. Not anymore.
Ones you've done it before? Nope, diversity. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of flying all the time with these white pilots landing safely and on time. Boring.
That nonsense had rotten America to the core, my friends. In fact, I think most of that nonsense that we see in South Africa came from America. The group of people like Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, as well as Kamala Harris. Black this and that, women this and that, transgender this and that. It got so bad in America that they were even allowing men who claimed to be transgender women to serve their sentences in women prisons. And of course, you know what happened. Women were taken advantage of in those prisons. Taken advantage of by women and made to fall pregnant by women.
It's difficult being a woman in a men's prison. I have faced rape, being assaulted, discrimination.
Being referred as he can be sometimes degrading.
Sometimes you have low self-esteem because they look at you if you wear makeup and they want to talk crazy behind your back or to your face and you can't do nothing about it.
There's a lot of these guys that don't understand transgender living, and we just don't like hear from the inmates, we hear from the staff as well. I prefer to be in a woman's prison because I look at myself as a transgender woman, and I should be treated as a woman. I prefer to be housed with my identity.
California's Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation says it can't discuss individual cases due to privacy concerns. It does say California houses some trans people according to their lived gender.
Complicated issue in the New Jersey jail system. A transgender female inmate has been moved to a men's prison after impregnating two other biological female inmates. We're talking about Demi Minor rather. Don't want to make that mistake. Demi Minor. She was born male, but she started her transition as a woman in 2020. Minor has been blogging about her experience in the men's facility. She says she suffered physical and psychological abuse despite her own actions of getting women pregnant in the female facility. Now, in New Jersey, you have the opportunity as an inmate to decide where you go if you identify as a female, even though he clearly looked like a male there. But that's in the Jersey prison system.
This week, 52-year-old state prisoner Tremaine Carroll must be referred to with she/her pronouns because Carroll identifies as a woman. But the district attorney believes the defendant is abusing the system.
This is a person who's not a woman in any sense of the word.
In March, DA Sally Moreno charged Carol for rape allegedly committed while incarcerated at the Central California Women's Facility in Chowchilla.
After his first cellmate became pregnant and was moved to Los Angeles, 2 other cellmates of his complained that he had raped them. So we have filed rape charges against this inmate.
Moreno says the ruling regarding pronouns impacts her ability to prosecute the case.
This is a particular issue in this case because it's confusing to the jury. In California, rape is a crime that has to be accomplished by a man.
Carol was allowed to serve time in a women's prison despite being a biological male because of Senate Bill 132, the Transgender Respect Agency and Dignity Act, which took effect in 2021. It allows inmates to be housed with the gender they identify as. The CDCR website points out state law prohibits discrimination based on gender identity.
There's no psychological evaluation that needs to be done. This person doesn't need to be on cross-gender hormones. They don't need to be signed up for transgender surgery. They don't even need a significant psychological evaluation regarding gender confusion. The mere statement is enough.
The Trump administration formally withdrew guidance that had enabled transgender individuals to use sex-segregated school bathrooms and locker rooms of their choice. The administration decided to lift the Obama-era federal guidelines that had previously sparked legal divisions over the definition of the term sex.
Protecting women from radical gender ideologies.
Ooh. And we will have no men participating in women's sports, and transgender operations, which became the rage, will occur very rarely.
Now, one of the executive orders President Trump signed today cuts federal aid for gender transitions for people under 19.
Just yesterday, the president ordered that transgender people cannot serve in the military.
They made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female. Gee, that was a tough one. That was a tough one.
It was only a matter of time before we started hearing of the need of LGBTQs in our government. We already have loads of them on our TV, so it was definitely a matter of time until they were pushed into all spheres.
We are not safe until we are all safe. To discuss all of this and more, we are joined in studio by DA leader John Steenhuisen, the chairperson of the DA Metro LGBTQIA+ community, Roberto Quintas, and DA member of Parliament, Zakhele Mbele. On Zoom, I am joined by Zinhle Olai, who is the LGBTQIA+ community activist and one of our great activists within the Democratic Alliance. John, let me start off with you. The reality is that it is still not safe to have a different sexual orientation in South Africa. Why is that the case? Is it a legislative issue? Is it a cultural issue?
I think it's a mixture of both. Although we have one of the most progressive constitutions in the world, which entrenches the right of people to choose who they love and to live the life that they want to live, we still have a big cultural divide across a variety of communities where, being gay, being a member of the LGBTQIA+ community is frowned upon.
Comrades, in the EFF, we support the LGBTQ+ community. There is no EFF that hates gays and lesbian and transgender and how people want to define themselves.
Let me say it clearly for those of you who might be touched by this. Regardless of what your sexual orientation is, the fact is the fact. There are only 2 genders. Since we are free moral beings, you may be a man who sleeps with men or a woman who sleeps with women. But as far as biology is concerned, there are only 2 genders. When it comes to doing our jobs, what matters is your qualifications, skills, experience, and your integrity.
Take back our campuses for all of the normal students who want a safe place from which to learn. And we're going to keep men out of women's sports.
Don't tell me about your color, don't tell me about your gender, and don't tell me about your sexual orientation. Tell me only about things that are relevant to doing the job and doing it well. Now, moving along. There are a few more things that Cyril Ramaphosa should have identified and taken care of by now. As a president, we need to know what you entered the presidency for.
I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reform.
With Trump, Americans knew that he entered to end DEI hiring, he entered to get rid of illegal immigration, he entered to strengthen their border, get rid of drugs, improve their economy, like just simple things like that. Did you notice that Gayton McKenzie managed to use that same trick? And look what that got him. I think he can be happy because he spoke up against things that we care about as citizens. Herman Mashaba was also fighting against illegal immigration. They got several seats and they should be proud. That is what the voters of South Africa wanted addressed, and Patriotic Alliance and Action SA addressed those issues and benefited from it. The EFF could have grown, but we all know his foolishness of wanting foreigners more than his own people got him into trouble. He wanted the opposite of what the voters of South Africa wanted, and he paid for it. With Cyril Ramaphosa, well, he's not here to stop Nigerian drug dealers. He's not here to end illegal immigration. He's not here to end teenage sex and teenage pregnancies. Cyril Ramaphosa is not even here to make sure the people that committed crimes against our country during state capture years ago are in prison. In fact, he even made sure to release Jacob Zuma before the end of his sentence when his crime was clear, very, very clear. These are the differences that matter.
To secure our elections, our goal would be proof of citizenship and voter ID. Very simple.
Does one require an ID to vote? Ask anyone almost anywhere in the world, and the answer would likely be, of course. But in the US, it's a matter of debate and the state you live in. Currently, there are 15 states that do not require an ID to vote. 35 states require some form of identification when citizens vote, but the type of ID, with or without a photo, differs according to the state. Federal law requires first-time voters to show some form of ID if they don't register under certain conditions, whether that ID is a current photo identification, a bank statement, or a current utility bill. So, what's the fuss about? Well, the Republicans say that ID is necessary to prevent voter fraud, like in cases of impersonation, or to prevent non-American citizens from voting. They list instances like the accidental registration of 1,259 non-citizens to vote in Oregon, or a software coding oversight that allowed nearly 218,000 people to register to vote without providing proof of U.S. citizenship in Arizona, as reasons why identification is necessary to vote.
Early voting continuing today in Mecklenburg County, but one voter was shocked to find out his vote was already processed, but not by him. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King spoke to that voter tonight and learned how this all got corrected.
A shocking moment for that voter for sure. He told me he went to the Bank of America Stadium to cast his ballot, but when he presented his identification, the system showed someone else beat him to the punch yesterday.
Not feeling like my vote is going to be recorded or heard is invasion of my rights, and it's
Again, these are the differences that matter. If you didn't know, these are some of the reasons why many people voted for Trump. These differences found in him. As we prepare to vote in the 2026 local elections, let us look for these differences, shall we? ANC is definitely lacking and should not even be an option in 2026. If we can all be honest, ANC stayed so long in power not because they're better in their promises and implementation, but because of apartheid. That's it. That's it, guys.
I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to save our country and to save our Constitution.
Anyway, that's it for today. If it's not too much to ask, please like and share this video with more citizens to prepare them to vote wisely in 2026. Please subscribe to our channel and join our membership. And of course, visit www.citizenconcern.co.za to buy your t-shirt. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.